Good morning, everyone. Welcome to From the Word Bible Teaching. This is our Morning Nuggets program, and we are glad to have you here. Today, we're going to talk about fighting, standing. Let me get my word out here. Okay, so we'll do James 4 here, and we'll do Ephesians out of here. Okay, so we're talking about sin and standing against sin. And I'm marking this so that I can read it clearly. And a lot of people try to stand against sin naked. She said the naked word. Yep, I sure did. Ephesians says, I'm going to start in 10, 11, and 12. I think I just got 10 up there. Let me check this out here. 10. Oh, is that for easy? Yes. Okay. So Ephesians 6, 10 through 12 says, Finally, brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against rulers, against authorities, against cosmic powers over the present darkness, the spiritual forces of evil in heavenly places. Verse 13, therefore take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand or stand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand firm. And then it goes on into 14, it says, stand therefore. And it goes into the armor. Let's just take a quick look at the armor, okay? Having fastened on the belt of truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and the shoes for your feet, having put on the readiness given by the gospel of peace. In all circumstances, take up the shield of faith, which you can extinguish all the flaming darts of the evil one, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. We talked yesterday, I believe, about praying in the Spirit. Was that yesterday? Yeah. It says praying at all times in the Spirit. Okay. So we have all of these pieces of armor, and yet we try to fight the enemy naked. We forget that we have the armor of God on. We forget that we have the weapons and the tools at our ready to use. We forget that. In James 4, 7, it says, submit yourselves then to God, resist the devil, and he will flee. Okay? And so we have to resist the devil, but we can't resist the devil unless we first submit to God. And we submit to God. We submit to God by putting on the armor. We're not fighting against people. We're fighting against spiritual forces. it doesn't say put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the schemes of man. It says the schemes of the devil. If your armor is on, and if you have submitted yourself to the Lord, then you can withstand anything the devil throws at you. It says to put on the armor. Doesn't say anything in there anywhere about taking it off. It doesn't say anything anywhere about laying it aside. It says put it on, period. And so once we put the armor on, now, I remember hearing a teaching. I don't remember for sure who it was, but they were talking about the armor of God and the Word of God. Pick up my Bible here. The Word of God. This is the armor. This is the armor. When we get into the Word, we read about salvation. We read about righteousness and faith. We read about truth. And that gets down inside of us. And our armor is on. We have the helmet that's a covering for our head of salvation. That covers our mind. It covers our thoughts. That's why we can take every thought captive. It's because we've got the helmet of salvation on. We have the belt of truth. The Word is the truth, the way, and the life. We have the sword of the Spirit, which is the written Word of God. It's a two-edged sword. Okay, so we have this, and peace. God tells us that we have His peace. And I think it's interesting. I just saw something. Shoes for your feet, having put on the readiness given by the gospel of peace. Peace are our shoes. That means we should be walking in that peace all the time. Remember, we talked about if you're walking in the peace of God, then you're not going to get rattled. You're not going to get upset. You're not going to get frustrated, at least as easily or as often or as long, because of the peace of God kind of just distinguishes that flame. And so the nugget today is stop trying to fight against people and stop trying to fight against sin and the enemy unless you have your armor on in place and using it. Otherwise, you're going to be swimming upstream. It's going to be a hard struggle. And, our walk with God isn't always easy, but it's always doable. We can get it accomplished when our armor is on. And so, stay dressed, stay covered in the Word, in the presence of God, and you will be victorious. You will come out on the winning side of things. Sometimes we just have to take a deep breath and sit back and relinquish the battle to the Lord. So I choose today to keep my armor on and in place and use it so that I can withstand, so that I can stand against all the schemes of the enemy. all the schemes. Let me look at something here. We'll do a little definition. So we're going to go to Ephesians 6:10. Let's see. Okay, in the King James it says wiles. Which means trickery. Okay, so let's look at Mr. Webster and see schemes, which is a plan or program of action, especially a crafty or secret one. Who does that sound like? Yeah. Okay, so let's look at wiles. W-I-L-E-S, wiles. Give me a second. Got to get rid of the ad. Okay. A trick or stratagem intended to ensnare or deceive. Also, a beguiling or playful trick, trickery, guile. Using that as a verb means to lure by or as if by a magic spell. So, put on the whole armor of God. Stay dressed so that you can stand against the wiles of the enemy, against his tricks, against his schemes, against the stuff that he makes look fun, so that you don't fall into that trap. Okay? You can do it. Straighten everything up. Okay? All right. All right. Well, thank you for joining me this morning. Hope this has encouraged you to know that you have all you need to have to stand against what the enemy's trying to throw at you or trick you into. Join me again tomorrow for another morning nugget at 7 a.m. Central Time. Remember to like and share these videos. We are trying to reach the world, you know. We want to reach as many people as we can with the truth of the Word of God. Okay? All right. Well, until tomorrow, be safe, be healed and whole, be at peace, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Keep your armor straightened up, and we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7